Well, the rising cost of living and stagnating wages have made it tough for many people to keep up with everyday expenses. Sometimes they have no choice but to turn to loans to help bridge the gap between what they need and what they can actually afford. While it's usually recommended that you simply find ways to cut back on spending to free up the cash for other expenses, with a highly inflationary environment like the one we're seeing right now, there may not be much room for individuals to cut back on spending more than they already are. Now, let's discuss this further then. We are now joined via Zoom by Jimmy Golele, Senior Education and Communication Officer at the National Credit Regulator. Very good afternoon, sir. Thanks so very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to the listeners of SABC News.
All right, you're welcome. July, of course, National Savings Month, but a lot of people would ask, and a good point to make really, particularly as South African at this time, how can one save, during such a hard economic time? How do they navigate? I mean, I'm sure you would have seen our previous interview. We're talking about the fact that, we've got another fuel increase coming up on Wednesday. It's almost impossible, really, for people to even think about saving.
Despite the prevailing circumstances, and considering that we are coming out of a very tough COVID-19 pandemic, consumers still need to make ways and means to ensure that they still save in line with July being National Savings Month. Consumers will have to revisit their spending ways. They will have to revisit their budget and reprioritize, and then, where possible, cut back on items that they can do without. And then, where possible, they also need to then check their finances to check where their spending leaks are. There are instances where you will find that maybe a consumer is subscribing to some service that they're not even using. Yeah. Then it is those kinds of services that they should reconsider cutting out and then making a saving on whatever they were paying toward that subscription.
I mean, it's interesting you talk about, the items that we can do without, but, I don't think at this point that a lot of people are spending necessarily on luxuries. They're really just spending on the basics. And if you're looking at, for instance, the prices of food, groceries, the prices of groceries have gone up. So how do we really sort of navigate the situation? I mean, if you look at the fact that the average food basket has gone up by roughly 11% since 2021. So that means that people are spending, a lot more than what they would have initially been spending anyway.
Unfortunately, as you indicate, things have gone up. The basket of food price has gone up as well. But then we'll probably have to cut closer to the bone. You will have to cut even out some of the essentials, because we still are going to experience some emergencies in life. We are still going to need some money saved in case of an unexpected event happening. And for that reason, we still need to save. So even under these pressing and trying circumstances, consumers will still have to find a way of saving something for the rainy days.
Yeah, and then of course, you and I have to talk about the issue of the credit score. And, I think at this time, while people are taking out a lot of credit and making loans and so forth, what practical steps, can you advise people as to, how to help them in this situation and cleaning up their credit so that they're not too heavily indebted as they take out this credit in instances where they have to?
What we can advise to consumers as the National Credit Regulator is that consumers should use credit only when it is necessary. I think it has become common knowledge that a lot of consumers rely on credit in South Africa, and sometimes even for instances where it is not necessary. And for that purpose, we would like to encourage consumers to say they should consider using credit only when there is no other option, and they should consider using credit only to meet their basic needs in life. And then we also encourage consumers to say they should regularly check their credit reports to make sure that things that they are paying